it's Rebecca here from Precious Pages Papercraft, and today I am sharing a layout I've designed for Peartree Cutfiles using the new Christmas Mandala Cutfile. So this cutfile was part of the new December release, so it's now available in the store. You can either buy it as a digital download if you have your own cutting machine, or you can buy it as a pre-cut cut file. Marie will cut it for you and send it to you in the post. So I wanted to do a lot of mixed media on this layout, so I started off by painting the inner bits of the holly leaves from the cut file. So I've removed the actual positive section of the file, and now these are what's left on my cutting mat, is what we kind of refer to as the negative parts, and I'm painting all the holly leaves with a Lindy's Stamp Gang Starburst spray. This one is in Drop Dead Gorgeous Green, so it's a lovely green with a really beautiful shimmer to it. It's like ground up glitter in it that just makes it really shimmery and sparkly in the light. It's brilliant. So I go around all the holly leaves with this green. Then when that's kind of touch dry, almost dry but not quite, I add in a bit of Dylusions Ink Spray, and that's in Cut Grass. So that one's not shimmery, but it's a darker shade of green. So I mix that in and just add a bit to sort of the edges of my holly leaves and mix it in with my finger. No rhyme or reason to where I add it, just I wanted to add a bit of shading to my holly leaves so that they didn't look quite so flat. And I wanted to give them a lot more interest, so just go all the way around with that, adding in some shading, and then you can kind of see the sparkle there. Hopefully it will show better in the close-ups at the end. So what I do next is get my Distress Embossing dabber. Now this is what I use when I'm heat embossing. So I wanted to do the holly leaves in red glittered embossing powder. So I used my dabber there and just literally covered a section of some cardstock as if I was kind of painting or colouring in with the embossing liquid. Then I've poured over, that is a Paper Mania glitter embossing powder, that one in tinsel red. And then I've used my heat gun to set it. I'll do a couple more sections off camera just to make sure I've got enough, and then later on I can cut out the holly berries. So I wanted some colour on the background of my layout, so I'm just using a smooth white premium cardstock, and this is another Lindy's Stamp Gang spray, so Starburst one. This one is called Sassy Sapphire, and again, just like the green one, it's got a really gorgeous shimmer to it, almost like a silvery shimmer. So I just add a small amount of water. I don't add too much water because I find if you water these Starburst sprays down too much, they kind of lose their shimmer a little bit. So I will add a tiny bit of water just to help it spread, and then I use my heat gun to dry that. With a lot of mixed media, I will just roll a roll of kitchen towel over it to dry it, but again I find you lose a lot of the shimmer by doing that with these. It seems to pick up all the shimmer. So I add some splatters and then I will dry that off with my heat tool. I didn't add any gesso to this page because I wasn't adding a lot of water. I didn't bother with the gesso. I don't always use it. I'm not a massive fan of it. I know Missy Wooden would swear by it. I find it changes the colour of my mixed media and makes things a lot paler and a bit more wishy-washy. So I don't always use it unless I'm planning to add a lot of water, which for this I wasn't, so it wasn't a problem. That's my background finished. Wasn't difficult at all and probably took less than 5 minutes in total. Literally just painted some colour on, added some paint splatters, and then dried it off with my heat tool. So now I've stuck the centre of my cut file down, and then I left it whilst I went off to do the dinner. Now, in hindsight, I should have cut these berries out before sticking the centre down, because it was a painful experience trying to do this. I just couldn't engage my brain, and I had to keep trimming bits down, and I was cutting them the wrong size. So note to self, do not stick cut file down first next time. I'll skip through most of this berry cutting because it is excruciating to watch. But as you can see, I'm just cutting a piece of that red, the same size as the berry clusters, and then sticking that down with glue. Now, as I said, that is a glittered embossing powder, so it's quite sparkly, so it adds a bit more Christmas sparkle to the layout. So I've stuck the centre of my cut file down at this point, but none of the rest. So the rest is kind of flapping. And then I'm sticking foam pads in each of the gaps where the holly leaves will go, and replacing those holly leaves in so that they stick off from the page above the cut file to add a bit of dimension, and it casts a shadow across the layout, which I really like the effect of. So I just take my time to go around with the foam pads. Some of the holly leaves I had to use smaller foam pads because the gaps were quite narrow. But as you can see, it's pretty simple, just going around replacing all of those bits. Whilst doing this, I realised I really messed up with this cut file, because as well as having those outer holly leaves, there were actually 4 holly leaves in the middle. Now, when I'd removed my cut file from my mat, I hadn't noticed those, and a lot of those little bits went walkabouts, the bin or the floor or toddler's hands, it could be anywhere. So what I had to do was, with the same Lindy spray and the Dylusions Ink Spray, I just used a paintbrush and just painted the green directly onto my background. So you haven't got sort of 3-dimensional holly leaves in those ones in the middle, they're just painted onto the background through the gaps in the cut file. So yeah, lesson learned, take more care and look at the cut file closer, because I hadn't even noticed those holly leaves. So once I'd fixed my error there, I started working on my photo. Now this is a photo from Christmas 2019, I think it was actually Christmas Eve. So it's just a photo of my little boy popping some baubles from his Christmas Eve box onto the Christmas tree. So I've mounted my photo onto white cardstock, and then I've used a selection of Christmas patterned papers to just mount that a bit and add a few layers behind my photo. I've mainly stuck to greens and reds because those are the colours I've used for my cut file. And then I start working on my embellishing. So I've layered several presents either side of my photos. Most of those I have fussy cut from a patterned paper from last Christmas. Most of them are from a Kaisercraft collection called Peppermint Kisses, and there's a couple more that I've pulled out. They are ephemera pieces. They are from a Simple Stories collection. It was actually a Say Cheese Christmas one. I think it might have been from 2019, but might be 18, so don't quote me on that one. But it is definitely a Simple Stories Say Cheese Christmas collection. I've also pulled a Christmas tree from that same collection that I'm going to stick down to the right of my photo there. And my title, which is just simply Merry Christmas, that is a sticker from the same collection. I stuck that onto some white cardstock just so I could move it around, because at this point I wasn't 100% certain where I wanted that to go. So I stuck it onto some cardstock first until I was happy with placement, and then I stuck that down. I pulled out a few more bits from my Christmas stash, just trying to make it work. There's a couple of candy canes I pulled out, but wasn't overly happy with them, so I replaced those with some holly leaves. Oh, what else do I do? It's been a while since I created this layout, so I can't even remember what I do next. These are just some sticker sheets from previous Christmas collections. I'm just going through trying to see if anything fits on my layout. I do pull out a couple of stickers, one that says Moment of Magic, that's a red one that I put at the bottom of my photo, and one that says Jingle All the Way, which is that blue one I've put on the present to the bottom right hand corner there. And there is another one, it's a green one that says sparkle that I've put to the left on those presents. Now I'm looking at my layout now in front of me, and that sticker's not on my layout, which means that when I've moved my layout to the side and it's got stacked in a pile of layouts that are still waiting to be filed away, it's got stuck to something else because it is not on my layout now. So I need to go hunting for that and put it back on. There's an important lesson to be learnt there. I need to get more organised with my filing. Generally I keep layouts out until I've finished my process video and my post has gone live, just in case I need to refer back to it at all or take any photos. But yes, things do sometimes go missing from layouts, so I need to be a bit more organised there. Here I'm just going around the outside edge, all those little foliage leaves there. I've added a foam pad to the end of those, just to stick those down so that they don't get bent up in my album. I've also added a brad to the centre of my layout there. That is from an older My Mind's Eye collection called Colourful Christmas. It's just of a Christmas tree with some colourful baubles. I decided that I wanted to add a red border to my layout. I do this an awful lot with my layouts. If you've seen previous layouts of mine, I am well known for doing coloured borders. I just think they help frame my page nicely. And I didn't have a cardstock in the right red, so I've just used a washi tape from a previous Christmas collection there, stuck it down to a scrap 12x12 piece of cardstock. Clearly used that for a cut file at some point, but it worked perfectly for this. So I've cut 1/4 of an inch off of the edge of each side of my layout, just stressing the edge with scissors there, and then I'm going to stick that down to my border. And I just used double-sided tape for that. So I always peel off the bottom and just tiny bit from each edge there, and I just find it easier to stick down. I've mentioned on a previous video, this tape is really sticky, and once it's stuck there is no getting it off, so I have to make sure everything is lined up perfectly. Then off camera, the only thing I did, and I forgot to turn my camera back on, is I added some sequins to this layout. So I've got some red and green sequins I've added. And that's me done. So thank you very much for joining me for this layout. Please head over to the Peartree Cutfiles website and you can browse all the collection. There's also a Facebook page and a Facebook group if you'd like to join us there. There's a weekly freebie on a Wednesday, and obviously loads and loads of inspiration from everybody sharing their layouts. So please do pop over and join if you're not already a member. Thanks very much, and I'll leave you with the close-ups and see you next time.